In another round of musical chairs in Nelson Mandela Bay, the city's mayor, Gary van Niekerk, and his deputy, Babalwa Lobishe, both resigned and then swapped roles. The resignations were announced in council this morning before the ANC's Lobishe was elected mayor. She's the fourth mayor in 3 years. Van Niekerk is now deputy mayor after serving for 18 months. His party, the National Alliance, is in a coalition with the ANC, the EFF, and a few other smaller parties. Let's get some perspective on this now with political analyst Professor Sethulego Matebesi. Prof, a very good afternoon to you. Thanks very much for your time. Musical chairs continuing in Nelson Mandela Bay.
Hi, good afternoon, Vuyo, and good afternoon to the viewers. Yes, once again, indicative of what South Africans have become accustomed to. It's where our leaders are actually choreographing a certain narrative that they've got the interest of the citizens or the residents at heart, but this is definitely yet once again a clear case of complete disrespect for South Africans, because swapping roles without taking South Africans into confidence. The deputy executive mayor has been part of that council, and the former mayor who've now swapped roles. The question is, what are they going to do differently when they've swapped roles?
Have you been able to discern any strategy on the part of the ANC, in other words, beyond simply wanting power?
No, it's difficult, because if you look at the trend, even in other metros, we've seen what is happening in Tshwane and other municipalities. It seems as if it's only a case of what has to happen immediately. Short-term vision of occupying mayoral, positions and actually dominating that mayoral committee. And I don't see a long-term strategy where the African nation will come in and say, well, we've lost the battle in some cases. Let us allow these parties to rule or wherever. And we will play whatever role we have to play, but later come in and take over. That's not the case. And that's why it's very difficult, even after a 5-year term, to now pinpoint and say, but who is to blame? Have the ANC played any active role in trying to take heed the lessons from the party? It's very difficult to be able to pick up any strategy from the African National Congress.
It's interesting because, I mean, the man we just saw now on the visuals we were playing while we were talking, Prof. Gary van Niekerk, I mean, for all intents and purposes, he was listening to and taking instructions from the ANC.
Yes, if you look, I mean, you've got a Northern Alliance, which in any case will be dominated by the African National Congress. And I think, yeah, it's one of those backdoor kind of agreements where if you don't heed what we're saying, we're going to push you out, and eventually you had to jump. And if you look at what has been happening, this issue has been peddled around since September, where there has been tremendous pressure on Gary van Niekerk to resign, but this is long time coming, and eventually it happened. We've never had a situation in this country where you will find that people resign in the morning and then later that afternoon they have been sworn in again. You can see that this has been a very cozy agreement between the two parties, sometimes even undue pressure. But the question is this to the best interest of the citizens of Port Elizabeth?
Interestingly, I mean, Babalwa Lobishe hasn't really asserted herself. In fact, people have lots to say about her that's not really flattering. I'm just wondering what she could bring to the party. And add to that the fact that they had to lobby far and wide, looking at a whole host of possible candidates before settling on her name.
Yeah, well, she has been around. She has been part of the legislature of the Eastern Cape Provincial Legislature, chairperson of the region. So she does come with some sort of political pedigree. But we have seen it on numerous occasions. That counts for absolute nothing when it comes to delivering what South Africans, and not necessarily only Nelson Mandela municipality metro citizens need, but South Africans. We want one metropolitan or even a local government to demonstrate to South Africans some of the challenges that has bedeviled this particular sector are challenges that are not insurmountable. But unfortunately, we've been, seen this vicious cycle where we are just changing individuals for the sake of changing them. And I feel sorry for people like Babalwa, because he's part of an environment which has become quite conducive to this kind of shenanigans. And I can't see that she will now want a magic wand that will suddenly change the fortunes in terms of service delivery, in terms of accountability. Actually, what the metro has become, it's quite laughable. The so-called friendly city has become a joke, because you can't have a situation where every 6 months you want to change position, but yet in terms of what municipalities are supposed to do, that doesn't change, and that is service delivery, proper governance, and ensuring that public funds are being spent properly.
Now, apparently there were conversations between the ANC and the DA, which seem to have collapsed. Those talks were around a coalition, akin to what is happening at national level with the government of national unity. But interestingly, those talks obviously didn't yield much result, and interestingly, the DA didn't put up any candidate of their own. I don't know what to read into that.
Yeah, we've seen also in Tshwane there has been this, bickering between the African National Congress and the Democratic Alliance, and perhaps this time around, the DA have done their own investigations, preliminary investigations, and have just decided that perhaps they don't stand a chance, because, it's also a futile exercise, an emotional game, just to once again nominate a candidate only to lose the battle. Perhaps that was a strategy from the Democratic Alliance. But as far as I know, that we will, even over the next couple of months, still see this bickering between the African National Congress and the Democratic Alliance in other areas, whether it's at national level or even at local government level. But this time around, I think the Democratic Alliance perhaps took a calculated move to say, what's the need? There's absolutely no need to now field a candidate for this position of mayor.
Professor Matebesi, thanks very much for your time and insights. Another round of musical chairs, of course, in Nelson Mandela Bay. Gary van Niekerk and his former deputy swapping roles. Van Niekerk is now Babalwa Lobishe's deputy.